You ever wake up thinking the world finally gave you a break only for life to roll up and just sucker punch you out of nowhere? That was me. The morning my 16-year-old daughter Grace glided out the driveway on her roller skates, laughing so loud it made the sparrows look up. And then 5 minutes later, two guys in cop costumes snapped 6 bones in her back. I fired a warning shot that morning, I'll admit it, but you gotta understand, by then the whole block was screaming, and the fake calm of our little bubble Maple Haven just blew apart like a party balloon you forgot to tie. Let me back up a sec, because nobody's story starts with the gun. They start with the quiet, with the stuff you wish you'd noticed before. Maple Haven is one of those places that's so perfect, it starts to get under your skin. Lawns that make you feel guilty for skipping a mow, driveways that curve like question marks, neighbors who wave even if their coffee hasn't kicked in yet. I landed here after 20 years with the Navy SEALs, thinking maybe this street would finally let the war shake out of my bones. It almost worked. Most days I'd stand on that porch barefoot, mug in hand, watching Grace skate circles under the jacaranda trees, her ponytail snapping behind her like she was towing a little piece of sunlight. But that morning, before the sun even fully woke up, a black SUV fishtailed around the corner, tires howling like a horror movie soundtrack. Doors flew open. 2 men in tactical gear jumped out. No badges, no cams, just enough shine on their boots to fool a neighbor still half asleep. They marched right up to Grace and barked something about unauthorized street use. She barely got to frown before they grabbed her arms, twisted them up behind her until something inside her popped. Her scream went straight through my coffee steam. Mug hit the porch, shattered, and I was already running, no thought, just muscle memory. I'm licensed, trained, the sheriff's office knows me, but none of that matters when your kid's face is mashed into hot asphalt. I planted my feet, leveled my sidearm, and yelled, "Let her go." One guy twitched for his belt. I squeezed, bullet chewed up the pavement inches from his boots, and that's when all the swagger drained right out of their eyes. They dropped her just like that. She hit the ground like a marionette with the strings cut, gasping, spine bent wrong. Something I'm never gonna get out of my head. I kept yelling, trying to keep my hand steady. And by then the neighbors were peeking out from behind hedges, phones in hand. Nobody sure if they were filming a real arrest or some YouTube prank gone dark. Sirens finally wailed down Burwood Drive, longest 90 seconds of my life. Paramedics swept in Grace, already floating on painkillers, and the fake cops were hauled away by the real ones. But even in the back of that cruiser, those guys had these little insurance salesman smirks like they knew something I didn't. And you know what? They did. Because while I was still holding Grace's hand in the hospital, the Maple Haven HOA had already put up a shiny statement online. Called the whole thing a misunderstanding, said the men were volunteer security contractors, urged everyone to heal and move forward. Not even a half apology, just a lavender spritz over a dumpster fire. The HOA president, Douglas Harland. I knew that guy, smile so white you'd need sunglasses, tech money, charity dinners, handshakes so enthusiastic it felt like he wanted your fingerprints. He'd pushed this whole safety outreach thing last spring. Let's hire private guards to keep the neighborhood extra safe. I rolled my eyes, but figured, hey, what could go wrong? Turns out everything. Phone calls got dodged evidence under review. Deputies who used to joke with me suddenly had new priorities. I've seen this before overseas. Whenever power wanted to shut you up, they leaned on red tape until you forgot what you were fighting for. So I did what I always do. Started walking. Knocked on doors, shook hands, shared coffee. Some folks shut their doors, politely said they'd seen enough on Facebook, but a few talked. Told stories about those guards hassling kids over skateboards, writing up HOA warnings for visual discord, whatever that means. A teacher down on Sycamore, sweetest old lady you ever met, had a doorbell cam that caught more than she bargained for. Teenager 3 houses over had drone footage of a guard shoving another kid off a bike. By the end of the week, my garage looked like a war room, photos, timelines. Even some bank records I sweet-talked off the county site, tracing HOA funds straight to a shell security firm called Sentinel Approach LLC. Guess who sits on its board, you got it? Douglas Harland. So I passed what I found to a neighbor's cousin at this scrappy news site, Clear Current News. They dropped the story, Friday, suburban security, or private militia. It blew up by dinner time. TV vans were blocking the cul-de-sac. Harlan tried damage control press conference at the Fountain Royal Blue Blazer, deeply saddened rogue contractors promising an internal review. I watched from behind the camera's arms crossed. Grace watched too, streaming it from her hospital bed. "He's lying, Dad," she whispered. "Yeah," I told her, but not for long. Next thing you know, more parents come out, stories about kids frisked for loitering, guards threatening citations for chalk art, a widower catching someone photographing his hedge at midnight. It all starts to catch fire. Sheriff's office finally arrests the two attackers, charges of assault with great bodily harm and impersonating officers. I'm at their arraignment. Bail gets denied, but Harlan still sits pretty in the clubhouse. That's when things got twisted. Someone slid an envelope under my door. Just my name, no return, inside a single Polaroid. Grace in her hospital gown, timestamp 15 minutes earlier. No signature, just a sticky note. "Stand down." My blood ran cold. Checked the hospital security tape, saw two men in maintenance uniforms. Same build as the SUV attackers, tailing a nurse cart. Never touched her, just got the shot and disappeared. I knew what that meant. So I called a few buddies from the service, not for a firefight, just to watch my six. We rotated hospital shifts, doubled up blocks, kept a thick file on everyone involved. My friend Rex, a former Intel guy, dug up receipts, internal Sentinel approach memos, even a clip of a guard bragging about teaching brats respect. We timed the info dump with Sunday morning, right when people are scrolling their phones in church. By noon, #Harland Haven Hellscape was trending everywhere. Monday, the county raided the HOA office. I watched from across the park as they hauled out boxes. Harlan pulled up in his jaw clenched, and before he could say a word, they cuffed him on live TV. "You don't know who you're messing with," he hissed. "Buddy, we knew exactly who." The trial took months. Grace learned to walk again, stiff but stubborn, insisted on testifying, voice clear as glass, jury in tears. Prosecutors lined up every domino, medical charts, surveillance reels, HOA minutes, showing how rules got twisted to justify violence. The defense tried spinning it, but the jury took less than 3 hours. Guilty, aggravated assault, racketeering, conspiracy. The two fake cops got 7 to 10. Harlan got 15 in restitution. As they led him away, he glared at me. "You ruined everything." I almost laughed. "No, Doug, you did that all by yourself. I wish I could say justice made it all better, but it doesn't regrow bone or scrub away nightmares." Grace still jumps when she hears a car door slam. But she also started speaking at town halls, calling for oversight, reminding everyone that power should answer to the people it claims to protect. The neighborhood got a little braver, new board bylaws written in plain English, fear traded for backbone. One night, after her first big speech, Grace stood with me on our freshly painted porch, asked if I thought it was really over. Breeze smelled like jasmine and barbecue, the kind of air you want to bottle up. I wanted to say yes, but told her the truth. Men who crave power don't just vanish, they move on. Sure enough, 3 weeks later, padded envelope shows up, no return address. Inside a flash drive and a note. "If you're done fighting, maybe the folks in Briar Ridge could use a hand." Plugged it into a burner laptop, up comes footage of teenagers getting pinned at a pool, a father yelling HOA, banners waving in the background. Different suburbs, same nightmare. I called Grace in, showed her. She just looked at me with her mom's iron gray eyes, said, "We're not done, are we?" I shook my head. Guess not. So here's the deal if you're listening. What would you do if some fake badge tried to strip the dignity from your kid? You gonna pull your curtains tighter, hope the trouble skips your street, or are you ready to step out even if your coffee's gone cold and make some noise? Drop your thoughts below. Share this story with that neighbor who still thinks HOA drama's a punchline. And tell me, when power overreaches, whose side are you really on?